My name is JP Price. This is the first episode of my podcast. The price is Aiight. What I want to go over today is an introduction of me, why I'm talking to you, what my mission is, and what I want to accomplish in my episodes here. I plan to release these hopefully weekly. Probably start out bi-weekly. As it hopefully grows, then I'd like to do that more. I'd like to be able to have some guests on here. I've got some really cool friends here locally, on our team, in our gym, and then also all over the world in powerlifting that I'd love to be able to expose you guys to, and hopefully that you'd want to hear from too. So, for starters, again, I'm JP. I'm from Topeka, Kansas. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I work at a gym called Olympic Gym Kansas City. We've got a small section of that gym, 6,000 square feet, that's a Strong Barbell Club. I manage that area. I coach. I train people. I do programming. I host meets there. There's a lot that we do back there, so we have a lot of fun with that. It's a great atmosphere. The lifting atmosphere is off the charts. We've got a lot of great lifters there, from experienced all the way to beginners, a huge spectrum of them in different sports, from Olympic lifting to strongman to powerlifting. And so I'll talk about that quite a bit. I'll talk about the team quite a bit and hosting meets and all those things. And as far as my numbers go, my best numbers are a 1,003-pound raw squat with wraps at the U.S. Open 2 years ago. My best squat without wraps is 960. My best bench is 639. My best deadlift is 765. And my best total with wraps or without actually is the exact same. It's 2364. So I've got one of the top 15 totals of all time in super heavyweight, and I think regardless of weight class. And really my mission here on this podcast is to spread good news about powerlifting, about strength sports, or even just things in general. I'm a dad. I've got 2 kids, Jack and Jay. I'm a husband. I've got a wife named Jenna. Yes, all our names start with J. I'm well aware of that. Sometimes we do things based on what sounds good and convenience. You know, J names work great. My parents are John and Jan, so I'm following a little bit of a trend. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I talk about anything that people tend to want to talk about. If you guys send me topics, I'll get into them. I'm really a pretty open book. I keep my podcast things that are definitely legal to talk about. And I really want it to be something that's positive. I'm a positive guy, and I like positive people around me. And so I hope this is an outlet for me to be positive, and hopefully for people to catch some of that and then shoot it right back at me, because that's just how I feel things work the best, and the best relationships are built. So that's what you should expect from me. My background, again, I'm from Topeka. I moved to Kansas City about 10 years ago when my wife and I got married. And here in Kansas City, I worked in sales for 7 years. And when I worked in sales, I traveled a bit to local high schools and worked with sports teams. And I was traveling a lot, and I was away from home a lot in the evening. And that ultimately was not the best fit for me. You know, at one point, I was talking to my 5-year-old son, Jack. He was 5 at the time. He's 6 now. And he was drawing a picture of me, and I said, "Oh, you're drawing a picture of me? That's cool." I said, "What are you drawing a picture of me for?" And he said, "Well, because I don't see you very often, and if I draw a picture of you, I can see you all the time." And that really broke my heart, and it wasn't that I was being a bad dad or anything like that. I could have made it work, but I wasn't that good at it. So I decided to make a change and approach the gym that I'd worked out at for 6 years, and so we made the Strong Barbell Club, which is a section of that gym where I can work and train and work with athletes that are like-minded, and ultimately that's been a really incredible experience, and that's had its ups and downs, and I'm sure we'll get into gym talk here too. My family growing up, my mom and dad, Jan and John, like I said, are super supportive, love the heck out of me. We obviously had our hard times like any other family, and we dealt with those and moved on. My parents are so great about taking problems and then moving on and moving past them. They've got incredibly thick skin. And I'd like to think they gave me some of that, and the ability to move on and the ability to handle tough situations. But I also think that I came out with a really kind heart and a sensitive guy. I was a sensitive kid growing up. I don't feel like I got tough until later in my life, and I'm sure I'll talk about that. Growing up in sports, you know, sports was the main source of confidence building for me as a kid. Super short and fat. 5 foot tall by 5 foot wide in 6th grade. I started playing tackle football. My dad was one of the coaches, and it was a sport I was finally good at. I had wrestled right before that, and I was terrible. I was an awful wrestler, and if you knew me growing up, I was actually a pretty decent wrestler in high school and thought about doing that in college, but I was terrible when I first started. I was getting beat at novice tournaments, and I was really soft, and then I played football, and I got tougher, and then I wanted to lift weights. So I was 11 years old when I started playing football. I was 12 years old when I started lifting weights. And I know that's young, but what happened was my parents took me up to the gym. It was called Popeyes in Topeka, Kansas. And I started working with a trainer named Kirk, and we got on machines. And in that gym, you had to be 14 to lift free weights. So I'm lifting on these machines. I'm pumping as much as I can. I'm probably going there 3 days a week or so. I worked with a trainer at first. And so then I started doing it by myself. And I was there all the time. People knew me. There were local police officers and bodybuilders and firefighters and stuff in the gym. And they were really cool to me. And they really mentored me in some ways there. Then when I turned 14, they let me go into the free weights room. Okay, to give you an idea what this gym was like, it had 2 rooms that were kind of long and skinny, and then they had 2 pits down below. One of them had a cardio area, and then there's a wall in between the 2, and the other one had a squatting area and a leg area, which, if you know me now, that's probably the area that I was in the most. And it was a really cool setup. It used to be a movie theater. My dad went on a date and saw Jaws there in the 70s when he was growing up. So I finally got to go into the room that had free weights. And my dad took me in there. Him, the other guys in there, they all took me under their wing, taught me how to lift weights. Then, going into high school, the seniors on the football team and the juniors were so cool to me. They used to pick me up and take me to weights. I'd go there 1-2 times a day, as much as I possibly could, going into my freshman year of high school. And I got really strong really quick for most people's standards. I think I entered high school with a 225 bench and a 400-pound squat and about a 225-pound hang clean. We didn't deadlift. I kind of wish we did. We also didn't really power clean. We did hang cleans. So that's just what was popular in football at the time, and it kind of still is for the most part, except mostly power clean. So then I worked out real hard all through high school. I was a gym rat. I proctored weightlifting class. I took weightlifting class. I did anything I could to be there more often because, again, that was my source of confidence. I became a really confident kid in high school, at least, you know, it appeared that way. Wrestling, football, student government, band, anything I could get involved in, I got involved in. I was there every day, day and night. I was the homecoming king at my high school. If Alicia Instrom ever listened to this, she was the queen. What's up, Alicia? I had a really cool group of friends in high school that were just from all over the place and different sport backgrounds and theater and band and orchestra and singing and that really developed me at my high school to get to know and like and love all kinds of people and be around all kinds of people. Our football team was really good after I left, but while I was there, we weren't that awesome. I think I was the only player in my class that played in college, and then the class behind me had a ton of studs in it, and took second in the state. So then I went to college at Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, which is a small private college, and I was real concerned with going to a place that felt like home, and that place felt like home to me. I started there for 3 years and had a great experience. I think people always ask this, so I'll just spout it off. When I left high school, I know I was squatting around 550 and cleaning 315 and benching 395, I think it was. And then in college, shot up pretty quick. Freshman year, I think I was one of the stronger guys there and got to travel with a varsity roster. And then sophomore year, got to start. Sophomore, junior, and senior year, I played right guard like the deodorant. And that's the only way I could get my mom to remember my position, so I made that up. So anyway, college was great. I had great coaches that have been there forever. Coach Wilcox, Coach Murphy that recruited me, the training staff. Everybody in college was awesome. I went to a Catholic school, and the monks were awesome. I majored in theology and philosophy as a co-major. At Benedictine College, I met a guy named Dr. Madden, who is a doctor in philosophy, and he was also a doctor in being a meathead. Dr. Madden taught me everything that I knew mentally about weights at that time. We ran 5-3-1. We ran never gymless from Moss and a meet. We were doing all kinds of stuff that just opened my mind. Kettlebell workouts from Pavel Tsatsouline. And none of it was off limits. Everything that we could do to be strong or to be physical, Dr. Madden helped me with. We trained in his garage. We gave it a name, the Dumb Ox Gym. Dr. Madden, I think he has 7 kids now, and we would train at 4:30 in the morning, which my wife does now, so it doesn't seem that hard because I see her do it every day, and I couldn't do it. But we trained at 4:30 in the morning, 4 or 5 days a week, and then he would go inside and teach his kids social studies and stuff, and then his wife would teach them all day and homeschool them. So Dr. Madden was incredibly disciplined, and he taught me a lot about powerlifting and conditioning, and that was really where I got my start in thinking about strength. And so we worked out together for a few years while I was living in Atchison and working at Benedictine after I graduated. I worked in the admission office for about 4 years and traveled as a recruiter for the school. So I've always had the gift of gab and love to talk, and that was right up my alley. I loved working there for a guy named Pete and working in that office, and I miss it all the time. It was a great job. And I miss Atchison too. It was a fun little town, and it was a good place to live with some really, really good friends. So then I moved to Kansas City and started working for the sales company I was in, and we did high school sports fundraising. And in Kansas City, I was training in my garage. I just made a garage gym. The Dumb Ox Gym became Dumb Ox South, and I had kind of accumulated equipment, and I trained in my garage a little bit. It's kind of tough to lift in your garage. I didn't particularly like it or get good at it or get consistent either. Because of that, I was coaching some high school wrestling, and I met some CrossFit coaches that were involved with that high school wrestling team. So I started doing CrossFit, and I've lost weight significantly one time since I was 17 or 18 years old, and that was when I was, I think, 24, 25. I got down to 260 pounds and competed in middleweight strongman one time. And then I kind of slowly ballooned back up. But other than that 1 year, I've pretty much been 300 pounds or more since I was 17, 18 years old. And I'm not tall. I'm 5'10", 5'11", and so definitely holding too much extra weight. Definitely always being a little bit undisciplined with my food. I come from a really big family, but it's no excuse. And so CrossFit was tough for me. It was a challenge. And ultimately, though, the community was great. But what I didn't like was I didn't like to be told I had to do, jump over bar burpees when I wanted to deadlift. Okay, I didn't want to be told to do jump rope or run around the building when I wanted to squat. And we never really benched, but I got to overhead press, so that was cool. So in CrossFit, they really encouraged me that I should try powerlifting. They thought I'd be good at it. I wanted to try Olympic weightlifting. I thought that maybe I could get good at that. I had a decent clean in college and in high school. In college, I ended up squatting around 615, and I think that's still the record there, and benching 455, and cleaning still right in the lower 300s. So anyway, I had stopped doing CrossFit, and I started trying to Olympic lift. Well, ultimately, I wasn't flexible enough. I just simply couldn't do it. I was terrible at it. I tried, and I was absolutely terrible. And I really respect people that can do that sport, that have the flexibility and the speed and explosiveness to do it. So then they encouraged me to try powerlifting. So again, I went back to Dr. Madden and the Dumb Ox Gym, and I went up to Nebraska, and we did a mock meet in my friend's garage, in Andy Jager's garage. And I think I squatted 585, I deadlifted 550 or 585, and I benched 425, like a touch and go bench. And I hadn't really done any of that in months, almost a year probably, and I had just retained a lot of strength, and I was ready to get stronger. Coincidentally, about a week later, I was at a barber shop, and I saw this big tatted up guy that had tatted. I know people with tattoos love it when people say tats. So anyway, this big tattooed up guy, and he was getting a mohawk carved into his head with a straight blade. And he was a bench only guy from a gym in the area that I didn't know, and I introduced myself to him. And he said, well, if you're strong and you want to do powerlifting, you need to meet this guy named Ben Moore. Well, long story short, Ben and I started training together the next week. I did my first meet a month later, and then that year I did 4 meets, and I was just hooked. And sooner than later, I became a member of the gym Ben was at. I grew out of my garage gym. We started training together. Other people started coming in and training with us. Chad Tucker, Tom Mackey. These people started showing up and training with us. John Gerhold and Cassie Gerhold. And then the team started building. And then other good lifters wanted to be a part of the team. So all of a sudden, years later, we've got this big team of great lifters and people that are some of the best in the world and some of the smartest guys in lifting I've met. We're all in one gym. We all train together 3 to 4 times a week, and now I work there. So we put meets on. We host a couple meets a year in the USPA, and we're hosting our first strongman next month. We're going to host another one in March, and we just have a great time doing what we're doing. We've got a great community set up, and really that's where my friends come from, and that's where my main source of community is. So powerlifting's been really huge for me, and it's really grown and gotten bigger for me than I ever expected or experienced. In my first meet, everybody always asks, what was your first total? And my first meet, it was with the ADFPF in Columbia, Missouri, and it was sanctioned, and I squatted 650. I benched 420 or something like that, and I deadlifted about 600, 585. I think I totaled like 1630, and that was my first total, and I was hooked there. And then the next meet I did, I put 100 pounds on my squat because I was so new, I didn't know what I could do. And then I started trying knee wraps, and I put a few pounds on my bench, a few pounds on my deadlift, and that just kept going and going and going for 6 years. So that's my background in the sport, and that's kind of how I got to this point. Also, something that I think that people like to hear about is our team. To get a little bit more in depth, our team meets on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Anybody on that team competes. They're all members of our gym. Some of them drive from 45 minutes away every week, a few times a week. The team has been a really huge source of encouragement for me and friendship for my wife and I and our family. We go to movies together. We have them over to our house for barbecues and 4th of July. We do a lot together. We host our meets together. We've watched people get married and have kids and do all kinds of neat stuff within the team that is just awesome. And so I love to talk about the team. So with team dynamics and the way they're organized, that's definitely a topic that we could get into on the podcast. Not everybody's always happy with how the team is running or happy with themselves, me included. And so that all comes into play with the team dynamic and what happens all the time. And if there's people that are mad at each other, it's like its own little soap opera sometimes. But overall, it's a really insanely positive thing for me and for other people around it. Other things we'll get into. My job, working at the gym, I'll probably have funny stories. I'll probably have some things to say about people that I work with and great positive stories about clients or things I've experienced there. I'll definitely talk about the gym a lot. I'll also probably get into talking about programming and meet directing. All things that I definitely think that there could be more information about. I could learn more about just by sharing what I know and then getting response and feedback from you guys. I can talk to other programmers and meet directors and bring them on here and explore those topics. Other things people always ask, about sponsorships and whatever else. I was sponsored by a few smaller companies a little bit earlier on in my weightlifting, but the sport was really growing, and I was kind of one of the higher totals. So I had worked with a few companies that were smaller as they were growing when I was growing in the sport. And then at some point, I kind of stopped working with all of them, and I was really taking it seriously, and I was really kind of trying to cut out all the BS and everything that was going on around me. And I just really focused down on my lifting, and that's when I went to the U.S. Open and put together the 2364 total that I'm still trying to beat. And that's when I started working with Aiight Man Strong, and they're out of Phoenix, Arizona. They're a couple brothers that are working in their grandpa's old warehouse where he built his business. And they're a great company, and they're great people. They make a solid product. They have really cool MMA fighters they sponsor and power lifters, and I'm psyched to be a part of that company. I'm just really glad and fortunate that they believe in me and throw me support, and that I get to help represent them. I love working with that company, and they've been with me for over 2 years now, about 2.5 years. And then I also work with Mark Bell's Slingshot. I've had some great experience with Mark Bell's Slingshot from the first time I started working with them was right before that meet, the U.S. Open, and I started wearing their wraps. I really believed in those. I started using their other products, their knee sleeves. So I squatted 1,003 pounds in their wraps. I definitely use them for my wrist wraps and my knee sleeves. Squatted 960 in their knee sleeves. So just besides really liking their products, they're really cool people. Give you a snapshot of their company. Mark Bell is the kind of guy that has put his company together, and then he brings together people that love to train, that want to be in the gym, and then he builds them around him and gives them places to be leaders, and tries to take their talents and give them a place to be successful with what they're already good at, and then let them lift weights for free, and then, you know, be a mentor in a million different ways. So I consider a lot of people over there really good friends. If you guys dive into Mark Bell's Slingshot a little bit, Mark's not the only great person involved there. He's got Steven Granzella, Little Smokey, Jessica, all kinds of people there in their office that are great, including Mark's wife, Andy. I got to go out and do their podcast, which is a way a lot of you people might know me, if you don't know me personally, was to do Mark's podcast. And that was really a trip of a lifetime. That was something that signified my change from working in sales to believing in myself enough to work in fitness. And I feel like you got to practice what you preach in this profession. And so there's a lot of things I'm really having to work on being disciplined on to be a guy who practices what he preaches. And doing Mark's podcast was one of the biggest things to happen for me, to start taking myself seriously and give myself the confidence I needed to start relaying this message to other people, that I could be successful at this and I can help other people do it too. So that was a huge confidence builder for me. So without Mark, I don't know that I would always have the confidence to do this and the confidence in myself to do it. I always treated powerlifting like it was a hobby, like it wasn't that important, like it's just lifting weights, it's no big deal. And I still say that, it's just lifting weights. And the reason I say that isn't because it's not important, because it's so important to me. But the reason it's important isn't because of lifting weights, it's because of community, because of fellowship, because of believing in yourself, because of getting stronger and being more prepared. It's all those things, and being an example for my kids. My kids love to come to the gym. I brought my son Jack to the gym, and if you look at my Instagram feed, I've got a 1 minute long video, and I had to cut it down to 1 minute. Jack tried to box jump on a 24-inch box for a good half hour. I mean, he failed probably 40, 45 times, but then he showed some resolve, and I saw in him what I've had to do and what clients have had to do and teammates have had to do, and even at the age of 6, he gets it. He wanted to be on that box. Why? I don't know. It was a goal of his. At one point, he lost sight of that goal and said, well, I want to go get on a treadmill because it looks cool. We have that, you know, one of those True Form runners that's self-generated treadmill, and he wanted to get on that. And I said, that's fine, you can get on that, but you got to try to do this first. So we went over to the stairs, and he jumped onto the stairs. They're about 8 inches tall. So he jumps onto the stairs. Easy. Does it for a set of 5. I try to teach him the terminology. Then we go over to the bumper plates, and I start stacking high temp bumper plates that are, you know, about that thick, and we get to stacking, and we probably got to 18 inches tall to 22 inches tall. It was getting really close to that 24-inch box, but he had no idea. He wasn't scared of the plates like he was that box. So then I take him back over to the box, and he fails miserably, and I'm just thinking, gosh, please don't skin your shin and not ever want to do this again, you know. But I'm not really that afraid to let him get hurt or not taste success. I was very prepared to leave with him not jumping on that box and learning a very valuable lesson about hard work, and things aren't just going to be handed to you. But I also wanted him to work hard and get it too. So no matter what happened, we were going to figure something out about Jack that day. And this is literally, you know, 3 or 4 days ago. So then we go back over to the box, and I took those high temp bumper plates, 2 of them that were maybe 10 pounds or 15 pounds, and I stacked them together. And after about 2 tries, gets up on the box. And he's psyched because he's on the box. He's not scared anymore. Then I take 1 plate away, and he fails. And then he gets up there, and he's psyched. He's back up on the box. Then I take the plate away, and he's on the turf and the box, and it's all 24 inches. And in his first try, he bends his knees, launches up, nails it, and jumps right on that freaking box. I couldn't have been more proud for him. I was recording, or else I would have probably been freaking out for him. And we get to share a big high five, and he puts his hands up in the air like this. Man, that was a valuable experience for him. And I hope other people see that and don't give up or quit. And I hope his little brother's like him too. So that's why I love this, and that's why, you know, now I've turned the corner, and I can see why you can make a living doing this, and you can feel pure and whole exposing people to this and teaching them those life lessons, and also while growing in them on your own. Sometimes it's hard to want to teach people things and you feel like you're just figuring it out. I always feel like I'm learning. I always feel like I'm just now figuring something out. And I'm always hungry for it. And a lot of that comes from being around people that are hungry for it too. A guy that coaches me, Mike Greeno, he's my smart guy. He's my Yoda. He's the guy that I go to who's been with great lifters himself for a long time and turned himself into a really good lifter. And I like to bounce ideas off of people like him. And I like to bounce ideas off of Ryan Silva, who I work with. He's a trainer at our gym. And talk about a guy that's hungry for information. He will not stop researching things, even if it's things I hate. He won't stop researching it until he finds out. These are guys that I'm going to have on here at some point. People that are hungry for information. People are never satisfied. And I love being one of those people that's always trying to grow, do something different, find a new piece of equipment, change the way I run a powerlifting meet, expose my clients to a new modality, something that they need to learn, that I see valuable for them. I love that about this, and that's what's caused me to turn the corner where I could really believe myself and that I can do this, and that this is something that I want to do. Same thing goes with podcasting. I don't think anybody wants to listen to me. I mean, man, I love to talk, but that doesn't mean people love to hear me. So a lot of people have said, start your own podcast, try this, and I just have to believe that the people that I've surrounded myself with are great people, and that there's something to that. And if there's anything that I can give any of you, I just really hope that this is a way that I can do that. Also, I want to talk a little bit about my goals. I've got a lot of goals, and some of them are ones I've been talking about for 16, 15, 14 years that I've never gotten done. I talked about losing weight earlier. I've always been a heavier guy. My dad's a big guy. My mom wants to lose a few pounds, even though she's really cute. And my family's big. I remember being big my whole life. I remember being, a little kid that was a little boy that was 10 years old that was fat. And my parents cooked great food. My mom's a great home cook. We didn't eat out a ton, but I always had an appetite. I always had big genetics. I was always a big kid. But with hard work, you can beat a lot of that. But I just haven't put in the work and consistency to lose weight and be in the shape that I want to be in, that I've always desired to be in. I've got an aesthetic that I want. I've got, an idea of what kind of athlete I still want to be at 34 years old. When I'm 35, I don't want to be the same. When I'm 35, I want to have hit another goal, and I want to create new goals. So right now, my goal is I want to be 300 pounds. At the U.S. Open, I was 396 pounds. I had a decent training cycle, a lot of pain, a lot of hip issues with my SI joint on my right side. I developed some bicep issues or forearm issues on my right arm, but that didn't really affect me until after the U.S. Open. But it got to that point where I was only able to train 2 days a week for the U.S. Open because my hip hurt so much. My SI joint was killing me and my back was hurting. So only training 2 to 3 days a week was killing me and killing my training. It killed my endurance. And then when I wanted to get more endurance, I was too fat to have to be in good shape. And it was really frustrating for me because I was really, really strong way before the U.S. Open, and I really wanted to perform well, and I didn't. I think I had a 23. I haven't even added up my total. It was like 23.18. And I know that's a big total, but it sucks for me to work hard for 2 years and not go forward. And I feel like I could have done a way better job. I was 396 pounds, and I was not in good shape. I wasn't in good enough shape to recover from my second squat that went pretty poorly and take a third. Maybe that would have changed the outcome of the meet a little bit. Maybe I would have hit my third bench. My deadlift was really affected by what kind of shape I was in. And that was an ultimate slap in the face that I need to be better. I've missed some accountability. People have always allowed me to be the big, fat, funny guy that's a strong guy. And, you're not just fat, you're also super strong. It's not good enough for me anymore. I've got people around me that tell me the truth, like my wife and Ryan Silva and Mike Greeno and Derek Mead. People that are telling me the truth about how I am. Other guys around me that are big that are losing weight. Ben Moore got from 365 down to 290 some pounds. He's doing great and fixing his body. Jeff Frank went from 418 pounds, squatting 1,200 plus, to getting humble, getting small. Now we're about the same weight at 350, and we both desire to get down to 300 pounds. We just know that we could be as effective there as we are here, but we're going to have to work hard. We're going to have to fix our bodies. And in order to be healthy and feel better, I truly believe that I have to get down to that kind of weight in order to be more effective and to fix some of my injuries I've had and work on myself that way. So as far as eating goes, I've been doing the vertical diet. Stan Efferding helped me out a lot with that. Another contact through Mark Bell that he's helped me with. Mark will give you any resource that you can get to get better at anything. It's like he's down in Gold's Gym working with Mike O'Hearn and other people down there. I think he's with Stan right now. And it's because he's hungry to get better all the time, even though he's over 40 years old. He doesn't care. He just wants to get better. And so what I'm trying to do to get better is to lose the weight, as I've gone from 396 down to 350. My day's pretty simple. I wake up, I eat eggs, 10 of them, or I make omelets. I've been making some real dynamite omelets, but you got to make sure they're within your plan when you make them. And then for lunch, I have 2 lunches that are rice and steak and fat every day. And then for dinner, I have the same meal, except I replace the rice with veggies, so I can get some veggies in, and then that's a low-carb meal. And then before bed, if I've trained, then I have a 3-scoop protein shake with 2 scoops of peanut butter. Using that model and adjusting that, a little over 4,000 calories has kept me feeling great, has really made my body, feel a lot better, and my back not hurt so bad as I'm trying to rehab my SI joints. And it's also allowed me to still have energy and try to stay strong. I don't know that I've lost that much strength lately. I'm still yoke walking in the 900s. I'm still log pressing in the 400s, and I still feel good. And I have plenty of time. I don't have a timeline on this. I don't have a timeline on being strong. I've got years to do that. I do want to lose this weight and keep it off pretty quick, but I want to do it the right way. So that's my first goal, is I want to get down to 300 pounds. My first goal was 330 pounds, but when I got down to 350, I realized looking at myself that that's not good enough. That's not hard enough. I got to get to 300. I'm not going to be happy unless I look the way I want to look and feel the way I want to feel. So hopefully I look great, I feel great, and my blood work looks great, and my doctor checkup looks great when I weigh 300. Or else I'm going to have to start new goals, which I'm sure I will. My other goals. I want to get better at strongman. I want to learn more. I need to get more equipment. I want to be a great meet host like I feel like I am with powerlifting. I want to do that with strongman. As far as strongman goes, I'm proficient in the yoke and the log and a few other things, but my grip isn't great. My deadlift needs to get better. I need to practice that more. My leverages are changing. And I also need to get better at stones. I don't really know the stones very well at all, and that's something we need to get in the gym that we're going to need to build. And as I get better at things like that, I can get better at contests, because those are going to be at a lot of contests. So what I'm looking for now is some contests to compete in and use those as a springboard, hopefully, if I place well, to get to do some things. Like I would love to compete. An ultimate goal would be to compete at something like the Arnold or World's Strongest, but I just don't know if I'm that good at all. I mean, I've got the strength for it, but I need a lot more skill and a lot more different kinds of strength in order to be competitive there. I wouldn't even mind. I would love to compete in the Arnold Amateur that's on the floor of the Arnold. This last year I got to do the Animal Cage. The guys at Animal, Natural Guy and J-Dog, they gave me a chance to squat at the Animal Cage. Rob Philippus was nice enough to let me squat with him, and we both squatted 925 for a double, and that was an amazing experience. And I also got to work in the slingshot booth and meet people and talk to people, take pictures with people, help them, and I had a blast doing that. And so, I've really been energized this year in this industry, and really hopefully am starting to build up a business that I can run for a long time and be a great example to my kids with. I would love to do the Animal Cage again. I'd love to compete in strongman there at the Arnold. Maybe USS Nationals. I don't know. There's a lot to figure out with strongman. There's a lot of places to compete, and it's something I'm really passionate about doing, and I got to figure out when and where I'm going to do it. But I'm also trying to heal up in the process. So I'm having to train around injuries, but I'm not going to stop. The way my training looks right now is I'm basically running some strongman training on the front end of my workouts that I do myself. And then Ryan Silva, who works with me, at Silva_SBC on Instagram. Ryan's a good coach too if anybody needs a coach. I think I'm a good coach too. but Ryan's also awesome. And Ryan helps program. Ryan's competed in bodybuilding a few times, and he's helped put in some bodybuilding and conditioning for me, so that after my strongman stuff's over, I can do some powerlifting movements and then some bodybuilding movements and sets and rep schemes, and really feel good when I leave the gym. Like it's been productive to help me condition my muscles and lose some weight. That's what I really need right now, and so that's what I'm trying to do. So that's my goals right now. I'm also working with some people, Justin Canterbury and my buddy Phil, and I'm trying to work with them in their clinic where I'm getting PRP injections and stem cells. I just got my first round of injections yesterday in both of my SI joints and also in my forearm and my shoulder. I don't have any issues with my shoulder, but when they're treating the bicep, they like to treat the top and bottom portion of it. We've also done ozone therapy. I can go more into all this later and get deep into the therapies, but basically I've got a muscle and a bone spur in my forearm that's really been giving me trouble. It's definitely hindered my workouts and hindered a lot that has gone into those, so I hope that those therapies really start healing me, and part of this podcast I can use as a journal to let you guys know what's working for me, because I'm trying everything. I try chiropractic, massage, I'm trying these therapies. I'll try anything to feel better and try to use science to our advantage. And as I try those and as I try to get better, I'm going to share those things with you because I hope those help you get better. As I share some of those therapies, my friends I played football with, they're messaging me saying, hey, my knee, hey, my shoulder. I hope I can spread that and make other people feel better through what I'm going through, and sharing those things and exposing that to people that follow me or around me day to day. So that's a lot of my goals right now. Other goals in powerlifting in the future, I want to total 2,000 pounds till I'm 40. And, the meet that I really have my eyes set on that I want to do, there's some really great promotion going on down in Australia. Emad and Marcos down in Australia are putting on big dogs. They're putting on their third one this year. Their roster's incredible. I should be on that roster, but I just haven't had the life situations to be able to leave for 2 weeks and do it right and go down to Australia and put up a great total. I personally have had other goals like the U.S. Open, Reebok Record Breakers with Jesse Burdick, and some other things that I've wanted to do that just weren't that. And I just could not allocate the money to go there or put in the work to get together the money to go there. They're doing an amazing job down there. They're helping lifters get there. They're having great prize money. They put on one of the best shows in the world. So in 2019, as I'm kind of weaning out of strongman training or hopefully qualifying for a cool event and getting ready to compete in it, I would love in 2019 to be able to dedicate, a good solid 20 to 30 weeks to training for Big Dogs 4 in Australia in October, if that's when they have it again. And so that's one of my next powerlifting goals. And I don't care what I weigh. I could be 300 pounds, I could be 310, I could be 290, but I'm going to be healthy. And that has to be a focus of mine. And I've said that before, and I've failed before. I've failed over and over. But I'm not going to stop trying. I'm not going to stop having people hold me accountable in my life that are great. And that's what's really important to me right now. So I hope that in this podcast, I can learn from you. You can learn from me. I can share my stories of what I've gone through that's been kind of fun. And I can share some experiences and some things that I'm learning that'll help you learn too. I really enjoy sharing my message, and I really enjoy sharing what's been going on around me that I see as beneficial for myself and other people, and I hope they can learn from. I'll leave you with this. The people close to me and the people that have heard me on podcasts before might get tired of this, and I don't care. I'm going to say it till I die. There's people in this world that are thermometers, and there's people in this world that are thermostats. And to go, now that I finally have a platform for it, I'm going to explain it for a couple minutes. And a thermometer measures temperature. You put a thermometer in a room, and it goes up or down based on what the room's like. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So when you walk into a room full of negativity, you're negative too. When you walk into a room full of people that aren't working hard, you're not going to work hard either. Why would you? They're not. Then there's thermostats. And a thermostat on the wall, besides being annoying when it's 100 degrees outside in Kansas City and it reads 7 degrees over the temperature you have your house set at, A thermostat sets the temperature. No matter what room you go into or where you're a part of, if you install a thermostat, it sets the temperature. Now, the degrees might be a little off on what you set it, but it's trying its butt off to get the temperature set to where it wants to be. Sorry, I'm getting fired up. The thermostat sets the temperature and it brings everything around it up with it. The thermostat sets the temperature and brings everything up to its level, okay? Or down to its level. You can be a negative thermostat. That's bullcrap. Get yourself up higher. Thermostats and thermometers are out there, and I hope you're a thermostat. I hope I surround myself with thermostats and inspire other people to be one. You know, some people joke with me and send me texts that say #thermostat. That's fine, as long as you freaking believe in it, because I do. So there's thermometers and thermostats, and which one are you going to be today and tomorrow, and for your wife and for your kids, for your parents, for your brothers and sisters, and the people that you train with? You can either be a positive influence or one that sucks. Try to be one that's positive. I'm really, really psyched that people want to listen to me enough to tell me to do this. This could be a terrible failure or a great success. I don't care. I really am enjoying talking to you, and I really hope that you can get something out of that. So that's it for the first episode of The Price is Aight. I hope you guys have a great day.